Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Utility Sports, and I'm really excited for this video. We're going to talk about the Brooklyn Nets, who are currently a disaster. Just fired their head coach, Steve Nash. Sean Marks gave an interesting press conference, to say the least. And they're 2-6. They just haven't been good. Ben Simmons with some knee issues. That's kind of a concern. Kevin Durant does not look like a top 5 player in the world right now. Oh, and Kyrie Irving, well, he's a little up and down too. So let's talk about if they're going to potentially explore some Kyrie Irving trades in this video. I think it's a really integral question to the future of the Nets franchise, and one that, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when they were signing these two players in Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, I don't think a lot of people would have assumed that the Nets franchise would play out the way it has, where it almost looks like, hey, they might have been better keeping D'Angelo Russell, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jared Allen, and just kind of keeping that young core together. Maybe they wouldn't have been great, but this Nets team hasn't been great. They've won one playoff series in Kevin Durant's entire tenure there with the team, which is not a great sign. So let's jump into it now. If you guys do enjoy what you see, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe to the channel for more. Video preview here. We're going to talk about why the Nets need to trade Kyrie Irving. Will they actually? That's going to be also something we discuss. But Sean Marks did signal a move in his press conference the other day. We're going to talk about which team or teams could be potentially interested in Kyrie Irving. Again, there is not going to be a lot of those. And I use the word interested kind of lightly here. Some teams are going to be interested, but not necessarily in acquiring Kyrie Irving as a player, more as a, hey, here's salary filler and let's see what else we can get with it. And then potential packages as well. And again, here's my disclaimer. Kyrie isn't valuable right now. No teams in the league are really dying to go get him besides maybe one. So because of that, the Nets don't have leverage. They're not going to get a ton of draft picks. They're not really in a great position to get anything for Kyrie Irving, honestly, especially given the fact that, hey, he almost didn't opt into his player option. Maybe it would have been good for the Nets if he didn't. And also, it's an expiring deal now. So teams aren't lining up to give Kyrie Irving a brand new extension as well in a deal with some of the things going on. And the moves in Brooklyn, like I said, here's Sean Marks during his presser. He said, I'll be the first to tell you there are certainly holes. We're not a finished product. Talking about the roster, there's a lot of things that have to move around. And, a lot of people would interpret that as saying, hey, we're going to try and bring in some other pieces, really flesh out this roster, improve this team. Yeah, you don't really have a lot of optionality to do that. You have very limited draft capital, still from that James Harden trade, who, by the way, I think James Harden was right with his wanting out of Brooklyn. And he blamed Kyrie Irving in a way. Obviously, those two guys did not leave, on the best of terms. Obviously, Kevin Durant, James Harden, still seemingly close. Harden wanted out of Brooklyn and seemingly placed some of the blame on Kyrie Irving. Now, about 6 months later, everyone else is seemingly understanding kind of why he wanted that, which is a little funny to me on the up and up. And, well, Kyrie Irving, I think, is the problem. One move should be clear for this team, and it's saying goodbye to the headache and maybe saying hello to some winning. If you do that, this team has been plagued by Kyrie Irving, who, of course, hasn't made his life any better after promoting an anti-Semitic book on his Twitter. Of course, that tweet got taken down, but he got into a little bit of a ruffle with Nick Friedel during a press conference after a game. And now the Nets are not even letting Kyrie Irving go to press conferences because they're afraid he's going to say something else stupid and really put him and the franchise in a bad situation. It's kind of embarrassing that the Nets haven't really taken a strong action against us. Now, supposedly the Nets and Kyrie Irving are both going to donate $500,000 to some charities to help out against anti-Semitism. Still, the damage is done here, and it's not a good look for Kyrie, for the Brooklyn Nets, who seemingly don't want to actually punish him in any way, haven't suspended him, haven't removed him from the team in any fashion. So the only move that should be clear right now for Sean Marks is getting Kyrie Irving away from the team, whether that's via trade or just saying, hey, dude, we don't really want you here. We're not winning anyway. You're not really that great of a player for us. If we're being honest about it, yes, his numbers look good. He hasn't won a ton the last 3 or 4 years in the league. And if you don't believe me, I mean, just go look at his win-loss percentage without Durant. It's not like he's, all that important to the Nets anyway right now, especially given the fact that they didn't give him an extension. He's going into the final year of his deal here. And they don't really seem to have plans to keep him. So if you think that that's crazy to say that they don't want Kyrie Irving around, they've signaled that now for the last year and a half. And I've been talking about that on the channel for quite some time. Remember, they wanted Harden around. They gave him a contract extension offer. He declined it, ultimately got out. They did not give one of those to Kyrie Irving. So we're going to talk about something that I typically don't talk about here on the channel, and that's the talent to bullshit scale. And you guys know I don't really swear on the channel here very much. This video needs it. And when we're talking about Kyrie Irving, the talent to bullshit scale is super important. In the NBA, typically a player is valuable to his franchise when the talent and the production outweighs the amount of bullshit and stuff you have to deal with that player. For example, you look at a guy like Luka Doncic or Kevin Durant, and their talent is just so clearly evident, more important than any of the drama that they cause for your organization. So there's no question of, is this guy worth having around? Let's look at a guy like Draymond Green, who obviously got in the altercation with Jordan Poole. Well, his talent, at one point, the Warriors were considering, is his talent worth more than some of the stuff we have to deal with? And they ultimately decided, yes, it is. We're trying to win a championship. Draymond Green's more important. For Kyrie Irving, the Boston Celtics decided, no, it's not more important. The Cleveland Cavaliers previously decided, no, your talent does not outweigh your bullshit. And quite frankly, right now, I think the Brooklyn Nets are starting to choose that as well, that his talent just quite frankly does not outweigh some of the stuff you have to deal with by having this guy on your roster and around your team, around your staff. And we forget that there's a human element to some of these things in the NBA. People have to deal with this guy every single day. Some of the stuff he says, the way he behaves himself, it's just kind of ridiculous. He looks like a child sometimes with the way he acts and behaves. And remember, this is a guy who's now 30 years old. So a little questionable to me. And again, the talent to bullshit scale, on the left side, we got talent. And Kyrie Irving has a ton of that. And on the right side, we got bullshit, which early in his career, Kyrie didn't have as much of, but seemingly day by day, he's added more and more to it. And I think a great example of that was when he came out and said that, Christmas isn't real, the earth is flat, which is why I picked this background today. As you guys can notice, there's clearly a curve here, if you follow my finger. So I think Kyrie Irving would probably be frustrated by my background in this video, but Kyrie Irving's talent to bullshit scale lately has been, the talent's still big, it's still huge right there, but there's been a lot more bullshit on the right side. And you can see it's getting outweighed. And it's really weighing down the team, in my opinion. Again, the Nets, they should not be 2-6. Their talent is better than that. But when you go to work and you don't like the people you work with, it tends to make work a lot less fun, and you tend to not really enjoy it. And I think we can honestly see that with the Brooklyn Nets. Steve Nash did not enjoy coaching that team. I don't think Kevin Durant enjoys playing for that team, as indicated by his trade request this summer. Ben Simmons barely enjoys playing basketball anyway, it seems like. So there's not a lot of, smiling going on in Brooklyn. Really, the only guy who seems to enjoy basketball there right now, Yuta Watanabe, who I thought was a really good signing, but he's not going to be the guy that changes your franchise for the better. Quite frankly, it's supposed to be Kyrie, Kevin Durant. Those are the players. Those are the franchise saviors that, remember, Brooklyn changed themselves from the team that gave Boston all those first-round picks to, wow, they've landed the two superstars. They're the favorites to win the championship. It just hasn't played out that way. And I think Kyrie Irving's really at the center of all of it. Now, one thing I want to warn you guys about, the media is going to really, really dislike Kyrie Irving for the way he talked to Nick Friedel. So if you're looking at anything from ESPN, you cannot trust what you're reading from them, because Nick Friedel is the colleague of most of those writers. So if you're reading what they're saying and they're all taking a really harsh stance on Kyrie Irving, you have to remember, well, he was talking really meanly to one of their coworkers, a guy that they all like. They all get along with Nick Friedel. Nick Friedel thinks a good guy, but they have a skewed bias perspective now against him. If you're listening to someone like me or someone else here on YouTube that at least knows what they're talking about, they're not going to have as much of that implicit bias. I don't have anything against Kyrie Irving as a person. I think a lot of his actions have been, not great. And you look at the way he talks and some of the stuff he says, if you actually look at it carefully and evaluate it, you're going to say, okay, this is some really bad stuff, really dumb stuff that he's saying. But again, I don't know him personally. I don't have anything against Kyrie Irving, but I think it's pretty clear that there's been more drama around him than what his production and talent really is worth at this point. I think that's the biggest point of this video here, is to talk about that and then to get into some teams that are interested in him. And again, I use the word interested very lightly. On the right side, you see the Los Angeles Lakers. That team is interested in him because they need to be. Right now, they are a mess as well. Anthony Davis, LeBron James, two great individual players. Russell Westbrook, another great individual player. And yes, I still use the word great, because if he was in the right system, kind of running the show, he'd still probably be putting up 20-point triple-doubles every other night. But the Lakers, collectively, all together, Rob Pelinka doesn't know how to build a team, so they need a bailout card. And Kyrie Irving could be the best bailout card available in terms of talent. They would be a lot better by getting this guy. Just from a talent perspective, he would fit next to AD and LeBron much better. We've already seen him play with LeBron. We know what that looks like. Obviously, later stages of their career now. but they would still be productive together. And Anthony Davis would really be the icing on top as an athletic forward in the front court who can kind of clean up a lot of the defensive stuff for them. And then the Indiana Pacers I have here as an interested team because they would be interested in trying to scoop some draft assets. I think they're one of the few teams that would have a meaningful package that Brooklyn would want to consider, and a team that's still tanking. Not a lot of tanking teams have good veterans. Indiana happens to. So I think that they would be a team Brooklyn would really like to call and see if they could get a deal done. Now, again, Indiana's not interested in Kyrie. They're interested in getting a deal done for Kyrie if that means they're getting some first-round picks in the deal and clearing up some long-term future salary because Kyrie's expiring. That's what really the difference is here between those two teams. So let's jump into the Pacers right away. What would that trade look like? I think here the Nets, they're looking for that package that the Lakers are looking for. Miles Turner, it's clear the Nets can't guard anybody, so you need an elite shot rim protector, elite shot blocker. Miles Turner is that. He's been one of the best shot blockers in the NBA statistically the last 3 seasons. And he's really reliable as a three-point shooter as well. One of the better 3-and-D big men. Not very often you get to say that, 3-and-D bigs, but he's one of them. And he would be really valuable next to, the backcourt that they have that's pretty small. He'd be really valuable next to Kevin Durant. And then Buddy Hield as well here, just another good player, good shooter. You have him under contract, probably a little overpaid, but to make the money work here, he has to be included. And at the price of giving up the lowest of the pick from either Philly or Houston based on swap this year, obviously that pick would likely be Philly's because I don't think Houston's going to win that many games. So you're looking at, pick probably in the 20s this year and a 2029 first round pick unprotected to Indiana to take on Kyrie Irving. And you might be saying, well, why would the Nets do this? Why would they give up Kyrie Irving? He's the best player on the screen. And I agree with that completely. Wholeheartedly, he is better than Miles Turner. He's better than Buddy Hield. There's no question about that. So why are the Nets giving up first round picks? Because essentially what the Nets would be doing here is they'd have a wink-wink deal with Miles Turner to get an extension done for him. And they would keep Buddy Hield around. And they're getting rid of a player who would not be on their roster next season. They're not going to extend Kyrie Irving. We talked about this already. So the Nets would be basically flipping a guy who they don't plan to be on their roster by 2024 for 2 guys that they're hoping would be. And that's really the angle here for Sean Marks is that worth 2 first-round picks? That's a steep price to pay for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. I completely agree, but this team needs some help, and Miles Turner would be a great center fit next to Ben Simmons. He'd be great next to Kevin Durant. And putting Buddy Hield, another good shooter out there, one of the statistically the best shooters in the last 10 years. And yes, I mean that. You look at his numbers, the amount of threes he takes per game, the amount of threes he makes per game, the percentage clip he shoots at. He's an elite shooter. So the Nets get 2 valuable players here and get rid of all the drama in Kyrie Irving. Yes, it does cost you some first round picks, but they're players that you probably want to keep around long term. Miles Turner's only 26 years old. So you're looking at a player who's just about to enter his prime at the center position, who's a good fit on your actual roster. Does make a lot of sense to me. And I think this could also open up some different avenues for guys like Cam Thomas to play a little bit more. And I think it really solves a big issue at the center spot for them. Then trade 2, the Nets here instead work with the Los Angeles Lakers. And this one's a little different. The Lakers here are actually the team giving up a pick. And this shows how kind of wide range the view is right now on some of these players. Basically, the Nets here, the reason that they would need a first round pick is they actually go up in salary, which is a big deal to them. That $1.6 million cap impact would actually cost them nearly $6 million when it comes to luxury tax because they are over the luxury tax threshold and they really don't have a way of getting out of it this year unless they made some really drastic moves that they just quite frankly won't make. So you get Russell Westbrook here. I think he would play for this team actually, and I think the Nets would probably be better, to be honest, because they would finally have somebody who tries hard in Russell Westbrook, which is something I think the Nets are missing. And they'd also have a 2029 first-round pick here, unprotected from the Lakers. The Lakers get Kyrie Irving and the mess that he is. They also get Seth Curry here to make the money work, which is really where the first-round pick comes in. To me, I think Russell Westbrook, Kyrie Irving should be a straight swap at this point. Both of these players are non-exciting, non-valuable guards in this league at this point. No one wants to deal with Kyrie Irving's drama. Nobody wants to deal with Russell Westbrook's drama. Why don't we flip them? We'll give you a first-round pick for Seth Curry because he's a really good fit next to LeBron and AD as well. That's really the MO here for the Lakers. And for the Nets, it's just about getting off of Kyrie Irving and seeing if you can salvage some of this season while also still getting a future pick. I think this one makes some sense for both sides. And if both of these trades don't really go through for Brooklyn, there's a way to work this into a 3-team trade involving all of them here. The Nets would get Miles Turner, They would get Daniel Tice for salary cap purposes, which is not a great contract, as you can see. They take Wenyen and Gabriel for money purposes. They also take a stab here on Kendrick Nunn from the Lakers, who obviously he's been dealing with a ton of health issues. But maybe you're hoping Sean Marks can go back to where he was when he was finding some of the guys off the streets back with the Nets when they had their fun rosters with D'Lo and Dinwiddie. You know, he found the Joe Harris's of the world, those kind of guys. Lakers get Kyrie Irving and Buddy Hield, which is probably the best single outcome for them here, getting two talented guards who actually fit their roster in terms of shooting, shot making, ball handling, things that they need. Now, this wouldn't help them defend anybody, but I trust Darvin Ham and his system to install that, especially if they are committed to running a center next to Anthony Davis, which it seems like early on they are. And for the Pacers here, you get Russell Westbrook, who wouldn't even show up to Indiana, would not even travel there. He'd stay in LA, probably work on his body and stay in shape for free agency so he can hopefully sign for a mid-level exception somewhere next season. And then in turn, the Pacers, for giving up Turner and Hield and Daniel Tice, would get 2 first-rounders here from the Lakers, who, again, this is the best package I think they could possibly end up with in terms of talent, and a 2029 first, 2027 first. And then also 2 second-rounders from the Nets here for Miles Turner. And I know it sounds like a kind of lesser steep price here for the Nets to still get Turner. It is, instead of 1 first-rounder, because again, you're looking, or 2 first-rounders, excuse me, because again, you're looking at them not getting Buddy Hield in this. And they do have to eat some cap space with the Daniel Tice move, which is not good for them. So I think this balances out pretty well. You see the Pacers would lose more games according to Fanspo's projections, and the Nets would actually improve a lot, which I agree with. I think Miles Turner would make them a lot better. This is a potential move that I could see going down. Again, it's not super likely that Kyrie Irving gets traded, but I think that they should and they need to, honestly. But again, Sean Marks might not actually make that move. My closing thoughts here: Kyrie Irving's an unwanted disaster. Nobody really wants him on their team right now, except for the Los Angeles Lakers, because they're the Lakers and they're dysfunctional as well. Indiana has all the leverage right now when it comes to Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. The Lakers aren't playing well. The Nets are playing somehow worse, it seems like. If anyone wants to go get those 2 players, Indiana's like, okay, well, you either need them or you are going to be bad. So give us something good. So they have the leverage right now to get probably at least 2 first-round picks this trade deadline, I would have to guess. And then the Lakers are just bad. That's part of my closing thoughts as well. And Rob Pelinka is a wild card. You know, everyone's saying he needs shooting, so he might go out and trade for Andre Drummond. You really don't know what he's doing. Yes, Drummond's been knocking down the 3 ball, so maybe my joke doesn't come through like it would have a year ago. But ultimately, the Lakers now at this spot, they're a mess. They need something to go right for them. That's why Kyrie Irving would make some sense. Again, he's dramatic, though, and unwanted by 28 of the 30 teams right now. So I don't think he solves their issues, but I think he's a better fit than Russ, which is what they'd ultimately be going for. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe for more content here at Utility Sports. Thanks again so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.